Alright. So till now we have seen yesterday all the important functions of the series, and we started a bit of data frames. So we are going to continue with that of the data frames. Okay. Alright. So one minute. Yeah. So we saw yesterday that data frames are just having a spreadsheet kind of thing, and you can say even 2D array, that is a data structure of a 2D array, and you have some rows and columns particularly inside on data frames. Mm. So how to make a data frame, right? So yesterday discussed some of the Google codes example. So let's make some with the basics of data frames. We'll just go. And yesterday also I said that we can make data frames with the use of dictionaries. So how we can make that? So let's say taking just a common dictionary and saying that I'm taking some data structures. So in the data structure, I'm going to define three kinds. That is one we saw yesterday. And the other is the panels. Then I'll say that the dimensions of this data structures are, this is one dimension, this is two dimension, and this is going to be three dimension. Okay, so these are just a dictionary kind of thing what I have made. And also I'll be giving it some serial numbers. So this is my dictionary. Well, so how many keys I'm having? Serial number, data structures, and the dimensions. Okay, and the values you all know, right? The values you know quite, that is the values up here. Now I'll be making a data frame called as df, a variable, and I'll be writing this as data frame, and now I'll say that my data is going to be df. And we'll just sorry, so data is going to be this data itself, because I have made one dictionary with the name data itself. So data is going to be data, right? So we'll check our df. Now what you can see there is data frame exactly. So inside the dictionary I have written some three values, which are the three values of the column serial number, or you can say the three rows of the serial number, and then the series. So like we are having the index. Okay, so you can even write down if you want to make anything as index. We'll see it everything. Okay, so data structure in the series, right? We can say this data structure inside the series having dimensions 1D. For the data frames we have 2D, and for the panels we are having 3D. Okay, so this is like kind of a data frame we make up there. Okay, fine. So we can make various data frames like on the basis of various dictionaries. If you work with the dictionaries, if you want to make data frames with the dictionaries, you can make. So let's just take the examples from the data frames, and all we'll be discussing about much with the pandas. So I believe that NumPy section is over with everyone, right? So with the pandas, starting up with the datas. So there is a data frame like so series we completed, that is a one dimensional labeled array capable of holding any data type. Now coming up to the data frames, here what you have a two dimensional labeled data structure with columns of potentially different types. Okay, so here you have three columns like country, capital, and the population. And then you can see here are having some 0, 1, 2, which is going to be the index number of these three columns. So if I take a copy of this data from here and just copy this, I paste it here. So what is written up here, right? If you see the things clearly. So we are having country, and inside the country three elements are there. Now you can say that these are the three rows of the country. Then we are having capital, then the three rows of the capital, respective values for the population. And then what we are doing, we are creating a TF, you can say a data frame, where we are making our data and the column names as country, capital, and the population. Okay, so even if you don't write, this is the dictionary, so by default you will be getting these as the column names, but still we are writing up, okay, so that the column names remains whatever we want. And we'll run this and we'll see DF. What you can see, the country, capital, and their population, right? Exactly how this is seen up here. Okay, fine. Now there are some inputs and outputs, and this will be done when we'll read with the real-time data. For now, let's just see here with selecting and not going with the help one for now. So we are going for the selections process for just see of the things from here now, right now. Okay. So this is like how you can make even a small data frame very quickly. Okay. So I yesterday told you that we'll be also dealing with the series when we are dealing with the data frames. So like if I want to see how many country data I'm having up, right? So what I'll write, I'll just write df and I'll put a say a square brackets, okay, and then we'll write up that particular column which we want to check. So we want to check, right, that how many countries are there. So df of country and run this, and you'll get all the country names you're having inside that particular column. So we are having Belgium, India, and the Brazil, and you can see series name as the country and the data type as the object. Okay. And if you also want their populations, you can give their populations too. Fine. So this is the importance, like we see of the series, here we have the dealing with the series. Okay. Now, now we'll go up to see, like if we are adding some country codes even, like this is your data, right? And you want to add one more column, because we will be working with the data, not in the Excel and the here, right? So let's say that you have this data and now you want to add some country codes to this. So how we'll be adding one particular column to a data which is previously right made up. Huh? So how to do that? So this is df, right? So if I say that adding a column to your defined data. So let's say we'll be writing that what the column name we are going to write. So we are going to write country codes, and then I will be writing all the codes. So for Belgium, it's plus 32. For India, it's plus 91, and for Russia, Brazil, it is okay. So for Brazil, it's plus 55. Okay, so you made three codes over there, and now you see your df. So you'll see one new line or one new column, you can say, there in the code, right, in your set data. Now like once you have added, now similarly, like if you want to delete any column, that's very easy. Just write the delete, write the data set name or the data frame name, and then write the particular column you want to delete. So let's say we want to delete the one what we added now, so country codes. That will be deleted. You see your df, and you'll find only the original one what was there previously. Now to see the index of the data, see the index of your data, what you will do, you will write dot index. That's it. So index starts from 0 and it stops at 3, right? That is, stops at 2 and goes with a stepping of 1. Now to find any data with any index number, right? To find any data with any index number in the sense, like if you see what is the values of your index here, 0, 1 and 2. So what is being stored in the 0? If I want to check, like in the first index, or let's say in the first row, I want to check what is there in the first row. So how to write up, well, like we want to see what is there in the first row. So you have two methods, like you have basically three methods. You can use IAT, you can use iLock, you can use lock, and these three have uh, different specifications I will be telling you. Okay, now if you go with the lock method, right, so when it like when we use lock, when we know, right, that there is some numbering, right, one, or when we want to like define, when we want any row column to be find out, right, let's say this is 1, so I want to find df dot locate 1. That's it. So when you write locate 1, what happened? So a series came with a name 1, and it's saying a country India, capital New Delhi, and the population this much. So it is taking, like when you say locate 1, that is we are locating the second row, and the second row is having India, New Delhi, and the population. So this total data of the second row will be displayed as a series. But when you write df.locate, and when you say not only one bracket, you make some two brackets, and then you write 1, then the complete row would be just taken out and would be pasted in front of you. Okay, so like this. So there is a difference. If you want the outcome still in the data frame format, you'll have to use that double brackets. And for a series, you can just write up the locates. Okay, so now if we want the same thing, okay, we want the same things, but we want this in a kind of, but we are not going to use this locate. We don't want this with the use of locate. So what we can use is iLock. Then we can write 1. So 1 is here we are using this 1. Why? Because right, because 1 is the index number also. If you see of the data, 1 is the index number also, right? So this is also giving the same thing. Even if I write, it will give the same thing, iLock. Okay, so iLock is called as index locations, right? It finds the things according to the index. Now if I say that I want to see that what is the value of the country in the first row, so I'm not going to print everything. Like if I want only this India to be printed, what I'll say, df dot locate, and you'll say in the first row, what is there in the first column? So that is India. Okay, right? Got it? So now if you don't want this in a data frame format, you only want the values, right? Only you want the values. So that in that case, I'll be just writing what is there at this index. Which index? 1 of 0. What is there? So it is being locating everything. I just want to say what is there at the index, this index, right? In this indexing, what is there present at 1 of 0? So that is India. Okay, fine. And now if I say that there are three rows, and you want only to see the Belgium and the India, let's say you don't want to see the third one. In that case, what you'll say, that is particularly slicing over the rows, you say. So df of from the 0, you want only 0 and 1. Sorry, one second. Sorry, 0 to 2. So you'll be getting 0 and 1. It is ranging, like you want the rows from 0 to 2 in the sense, right? So you can write up this things. Okay, that is called as for when you go for slicing up on your rows. Okay, fine. So similarly, yesterday we generated some random codes and we found it right there. We just made it, and that was around 200 some plus MBs, and we saw it yesterday, right? Now we are going to deal up with the real-time data like this. These are the basic things. Okay, now let's say there are some of more operations like iLock, which select single value. What is iAdd, giving you the exact value. Okay, and by label too, you can take up the things, right? So select by label, what we write, that select single value by row and then the column labels, you say. So like if you write locate of 0 and then this, what is going to give you. So if I write locate of 1 and then in the country I want to see, so it's called stake with 3 were given. Okay, what is the 3 were given. So that was actually written wrong something there. Okay, it has, I think, mentioned something. You can write up like this even to get up the things, or might you get like this also. I think there's something mistakes, or it might work. All right. So like by labeling also you can make it like you want to see up the things accordingly. So now we are going to find up with the real-time data, and real-time data, it means that you'll be working with some good data sets. And let's just bring some data sets. Okay, so if you have any data set in your PC, then you can just load it from there. If you don't have even, we can just download the data set from where. Let's say we are going to import a package, Seaborn library, which is basically mostly used for plotting up your data. So importing Seaborn as SNS, and I'll say from the seaborne. We are going to load some data sets, and let's just say that I'm going to load a data set of iris flower. That's in the CSV format. So, okay. Done. All right. So when you see your DF now what you see that you're having 150 columns with 5 rows, and this data even you don't have in your PC. Just write up this command and you will be getting up the things. So now I'm having some 5 columns and some 150 rows. That's nice. And the 5 columns I can see up there. There is setosa, and there are some dots after the 4. And so we are having the next values as like all of the thing like Virginicas and Setosa and all. What are these things? What are the species carrying itself, right? What are there inside the species? What is hidden up there, and what are the things inside? So whenever you load any data, the very first thing is to understand the data. And how we can understand the data? By writing up the info. So df dot info will let us know what is there inside the data. So it says that this is a class of pandas. The range starts from 0, goes till 149. Sepal length is having 150 normal data of float 64 bytes, and so does this sepal width and petal length. Petal width is having same. Species is also 150 normal data. Okay. So it defines that whatever there is in your data would be printed there. Okay. Now let's say that we are having 4 float 64s and 1 object, and the total memory usage is being 6.0 KB plus more than that. Okay. Okay. Now, so regarding the number of dimensions, shape, access, I think everything is to be clear to you. Okay. So at IAT and all what it does, these are the basic things. Okay, so let's just see all the common operations before going with the data. So there is something called as at. Okay, and this is at. Now what it does, it is very similar to the lock we use. That in both case it provides some label based lookups. Okay, now if we have any data frame and we want to get a value at specified row or at a specified column, we just write it like df of at, and let's say we want from the first row with reference to country. So okay, we have changed it, right? Actually we have changed this df1. Okay, so what is it? In a very specific row and column, if you want to find something in a column pair, so we'll write this. We will get the values. Same thing, right? So what it does, again, I'm saying it acts as a single value for a row oblique. You can say columns for labeled pair, right? Now, if you want to set any specified row or column value, so you can even set using this add function. Like let's say you write df dot add. So you say that on the first, like the country column, So ACC, that is having New Delhi. So you want to set it as, let's say, for Delhi. So you can write that within the data. If you want to edit up some things in some particular row and in some particular column, you can write it like this, and then you can say it to be done, right? So now you see your DF1. How many other DF1? Why DF1 only about the 30? Country of one. I can see New Delhi. Why it is still Delhi? Okay. So data has been like changed. Okay. So I was just checking up with this reference. Right. So data has been changed. Like once you define that you want it to be changed, so you write the things and like so what you want to change it, like you can define it with the at and you can get it with reference to it. Also you can locate it, right? What I'm saying, like how at works is like, let's say df.1, you want to locate any particular column, any particular row, and you want to check that in this 0 or in the this first row, what is at a particular column, right? Let's say what is at the population. So this is the population of the first one. So like this we can just change up the things. Okay, I think you get it right. Okay, so this is how at works. Similarly, there is I at, which does the things by the integer positions or the index locations you say it for. All right. So if you write of the things like df of df dot I at, let's see for the df now. Okay, so like we're going for the iris column, iris data sets. So if you want to check that what is at 1 and like the column, and let's say at 1 and 2, so we're getting it at 1.4. Now what is this 1.4? If you see up your df, and see guys, now whenever you have such a long data and you want to see only the first 5 rows, so we can just write up this head, which will be printing the first 5 rows of your data sets. So we got that I at 1 at 2 is 1.4. Change the values, you'll be understand like what exactly you're getting. 0.2. So 0, 1 and 2 are then the values, right? So what is there at 1? 3.0. That is this value. Sorry. So what are you getting? That what is there, like first locate that index. First locate that index. This means that first you are going to locate that index 1, and then you are checking that what is there at 1. Got it? That is, first you are locating this first index, or you say the second row, and then you are checking what is there in the first position. First position means this is the 0th positions, right? And this is the first position. So you are checking for the first position. So in the first row, in the first position, or you say use in the second row, the second position, and that is the value you are getting. Okay. What it is saying? Yeah, this will be I80. Sorry, right? So this will be I80 index locations because we are checking for. Okay. For any non-index, we write it like this. So at the column. But when we write with a particular index, we'll be using up with I80. That is how I80 works. Okay, index. Now lock and ilock, I think it is very clear to you, right? How locks works and how ilock works, like defining of the things. Okay, so even like in this data set, if you just want to see only the petal length and the petal width, let's say. So how will write? So df of petal width or petal length and the petal width. Print it. You'll be getting only the petal length and the petal width. Okay, and that too, let's say you want some head of first and values. So first and values are given. Okay, fine. That is how this works. Now, in case of this, if I just say that we want to locate up some things, right? So this is like we got only some two values, or only some two of the you say only some two of the columns, right? Now from here also, even if you write some like specific things you want to see, right? Some very specific things you want to see are from here. So how we can write the df dot locate, and always remember locate is always used for the rows. So let's say we are using this locate and using this C. Whenever I use this double brackets, this returns a data frame. Always remember. Okay. So I want to see that what is there in the 0, that is, or let's say what is there in the fifth. You can say sixth row, right? So what is there in the sixth row, and what is there in the let's say eighth row. So locating the sixth row and locating the ninth row basically, right? So you'll be getting up the things like locating up the different rows if you want up there. So you can locate it like that. But when you locate any particular, when you locate one single row, when you locate something in one single bracket, then you are going to locate it as, okay, this will cause an error because you'll be using some double brackets, sorry. So when you are locating one single element, you will have a series every time. Okay, all right. So every time you are going to get a series. From where this country came, I think I added this in the country. I added somewhere. Okay. It was not there in the data set. So by mistake, I have added it. Alright. This is how we write up the things. Now, if you want to even slice the labels for the row and slice any labels as for the columns, right? So how we do that? Slicings in the rows and the columns. So let's say in this one, we want to see in the df, we want to see that from this 4 to 16 what is there. All right, so we'll write that from 4 to 16 what is there using the locate. So this is like 4 to 16, and then let's say in the column, right, in the column, in which column you want, or which ranges of the column you want. let's say we want for this species. So we're getting the results as a kind of a series. So that from 4 to 16, right? From 4 to 15, 16 particularly, you are getting all the categories over there that is being set over. Now, if you write it inside, like if you want a data frame, you can write it as data frame and you'll be getting something in the data frames. What is the invalid syntax? Okay. Let's take it invalid syntax. Okay, fine. Okay. So like this you can make up the things, right? Now even you can apply some mathematical expressions to find up more things, like let's say we want to see that in a particular let's say like in a particular column, if you want to see that what is the least value or what is the maximum value, how you can get it, you can use the function of describe to find out the statistical uh, output of your data, right? So when you use this describe, what you get, like the counts, the means, the standard deviations, minimum values, maximum values of any particular column, and 75, 50, and 25% of that particular columns. Okay, like that. Okay. Now, like if you want to see any boolean value or discrete value of your column, in like that case, what you can do if you want to see some discrete values. Hmm? So discrete values means like some true or false you'll be getting up, right? But how? Let's say in the DF, we want to see we want to locate. These all are for the locate I'm doing. Okay. So in the DF, we just want to locate, and what we want to locate, that in this column, let's say for sepal length, that in this sepal length, where the values are greater than, let's have a look on the values first. 5.1, 4.9. Okay. So where the values are greater than 6.3. So I see all the data frame, right? All the values in the data frame where the values is greater than 6.3. Also, what I am going to do, I'll make it where the values are greater than 7.9, 6.9, 7.9. So no values is there greater than 7.9, 7.5. Alright, so greater than 7.5, these are the values which are greater than 7.5. Okay, so that is how you can even locate, like if you're having any, like let's say for any college, if you're having mark sheets and you want to see how many students in the result in the mathematics got more than 90. So we will get up the things like with that reference. Okay, fine. So that is how being done here. And okay, so this is like the results of how you go with the locate and all. Right. There are a lot of things exactly like when we work on locations. So there could be a lot of thing to work. Like you can even give some rangings. Like you want some particular columns and some particular rows. You can even define up those things. Like let's say you want to saying that locate. Here you want to, let's say locate, and what you want to locate. So let's say from sepal width to petal length. So from sepal width to petal length, you want to locate this from. Okay, getting my point. So you want to locate this let's say 96. And 105 is an invalid key. Yes. List programs. What is the issue? From the zipper lens and the bit lens, we are locating the zipper into the bit lens and the lens numbers. This is working. Creating all the objects with some specific values. Okay, fine. Alright, it's going up more. Right. So there are methods for the lock and iLock. We'll be discussing more in this later onwards. Okay. Now we'll try to see like whatever we have inserted, what are the things over there, right? So whatever the data frame you write, that is obviously can be convertible into a dictionary. So you can find, even if you load a data set in some CSV format, Excel format, whatever it is, you just see the keys. You can find up the keys of that data set, even if it is not a dictionary, because this will be giving you just the uh, you say the columns you're having up there. All right. So with the keys, you'll be only getting up the columns. Now, if you want to see also the rows you're having in your data sets, you can use the iterations in the rows, and you would get at the things accordingly in the rows, like if you go with that. Okay. All right. So in a data frame, there are options like when you want to sort something or you want to group something, right? Okay. So group, like when you say that in this data frame, I'm going to like group something by any values accordingly, right? So how we can group, like if I say that this is going to, I want to see a group by, and we want to group it by. So by value you have to write inside, and you have to give like what column you want to see. So let's say we want to see through petal length, right? So group by petal length, and you're not going to drop any null values. Okay, okay, okay. Group by what an unexpected drop any. Why it is unexpected? DROP drop any. That's nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So like when you say group by of the things, and according to the, like you have written on the sum, so what exactly you are getting up here, that the element, that the value which is in your column when you are writing it group, so it creates a data frame using a mapper, right? And what will be done, right, when you operate this group by, so this process is particularly including some splitting of the objects. Okay, so if you can see up the first, right, let me write up the head, and we'll compare with the original data, and then you can understand it well. So if you write our original data at head, and if you just see it with this group by data, so what you find is that petal length is being grouped accordingly to, like in the sorting way, like 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3. And if you can see the petal length as like starting with the 1.4, okay, and with the sepal length at like 4.6, 4.3. So wherever the sepal petal length is going to be 1.0, it is going to be 4.6. Okay, so we can find even like if we write the df and then dot locate, and in the df like of particular column, let's say what is this petal length. So petal length, you want to see where the value is equals to 1.0. So it says in the 46th, right, in the sorry 22nd, in the 22nd it is saying that uh, the petal length is going to be 1.0 in that case, and in that case the sepal length, petal sepal width, and the petal width is 4.6, 3.6, and 1.0. Okay, 4.6, 3.6, and what is the petal width? Sorry, this is 0.2. So exactly the things 4.6, 3.6, and 0.2. So this is how group wide works as like. Okay, so like you want to see 1.1, where is 1.1? So you can even write this, where is 1.1. So inside the just locate up where this petal length is going to be 1.1. So it's in the 13th, and you can see up the things. So sepal length will be 4.3, 3.0, and 0.1. So 4.3, 3.0, and 0.1 are the values. Okay, that is how group by works. Okay, and this is like useful when you work with any mathematical things, or like when you work with the aggregate functions and all. So you use these things there, right? Apply, group by, and all that things, right? So what is apply and all we'll be discussing, see, right? So before going to that, we'll complete up these things, right? So how many categories are there in the species? If you want to see that there are setosa, there could be some values for rest of the things too, right? So what are the things inside a species? What are the different categories? So what we can see that in the df of this species, we are going to see the value counts. That is, what is the unique values and how much values are there for that uniqueness. So we have three species, that Virginica, Setosa, and Versicolor, and each is having 50 values. Each is for 50 times, or even you can write it as df dot or df of species dot values dot unique. What is being happened here? Yeah. So np dot unique of the species values. So species values are setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Even you can write that you want to see the set of. Remember what we see in the set in the Python. So set is always considering some of the uncommon elements, right? So set of df of species. That's it. Setosa, versicolor, and virginica. Alright, so these three are the species, and these three are having 50, 50, and 50 values per in the species. Okay, got it? Right? That is how we can get some statistical description of your data, and you can work with the data even much more, right? What is apply function when I'm talking what is apply? So let's say that this is going to be df2 and I'm making this data frame. So let's quickly make it data frame, and let's say this is going to be 49 multiplied by the columns is equals to be A and B. Okay, keyword cannot be an expression where I have entered the thing. Data frame of multiplied by 3. So what is my df2? This is just a data frame where I'm getting, right, 4 and 9, and that for 3 times. If you see, right, I'm not repeating it for the 3 times. I've just written like 4 and 9, that is my input I want to see for the 3 times. Okay, and then for the column names I have written A and B, right? So now using the numpy universal function, we can find the square roots of this 3 things, right? How? If you write df.apply, apply on the whole data frame, and what you want to apply, right? So what apply does exactly, right? So what it does, it applies a function along the axis of the data frame. Now you define that which axis you want to apply, axis 0 or axis 1. If you don't define, everything will be applied to the whole data frame. So let's say if we want to apply np dot the square root, okay, that's it. Run this, and we got some errors. Alright, so this is df2 exactly, and that's okay. So we got 2.0, 3.0, and the values. Okay, so that is like applying something all over the data frame. Now if you write it using axis particularly, let's say we are writing df.apply, and here if we write that we want to see some sum, right? So we want to see the sum, and only on the axis of 0. I'm doing this error. This is df2. So this is A and this is B. So A is having 2, not this 2. This is having 4, 4, 4, that is 12, and this 9, 9, 9, 27. Similarly, if you write df2 dot apply, you write that you want to see the sum. This time your x is to be 1, so does it be getting of the things. Okay, so that is the usage of this apply. When you apply the things, you will get the values accordingly. So apply is very popular in this data frame. Group by is popular, aggregate is popular, expanding is popular. You might get the cum sums, the describe, or the medians, in those things, right? Okay, so we'll be seeing up one by one all the important functions, right? So, like if you have any null data inside your data frame, right? So, if I talk about this df, what is this iris data set? And here I have added some country column where only the second one is having value and the rest is having nan. So, how many nan values are there? If you want to see that, df dot uh, is na. So where there we get some true and false results. So only there is where there is a value will be false and otherwise it will be true. So I can find that there are a lot of true inside this columns. Okay, that country column. So what I'll say, I'll just write that in this country, check whether there is any null values. So I'm getting one false, and out of 150 only one false and the rest to be true, right? So dot, if I write the sum, then I'll see that how many null values are there, 149. Okay, and is not null, then how many is not null? It is null, or is not, only say not null. So not null, how many are there? There is one which is not null. So which is not null, you can just write see up the things accordingly. Alright, if you can see that what is the values of this country. So that is nan and see the south. So if you write this locate and write the df, where the df value is not equals to, you can see where these df values are not equals to nan. That is an object type. Is that so? Or you write where this is equals to Delhi, should be getting up the things. Okay, or even you can find up like where there is a null points or like kind of that. Okay, so how many null values are there, you can see up the things. So tomorrow we'll be looking up the things like how we can even see these plottings. If I say that I want to see school bomb is not looking good actually. Alright, so tomorrow we'll be also looking up to the graphs, how we can plot up with our data frames, right? This is just a small data frame what we did today, right? So what is given here, right? That is sns.heatmap. Heat maps give you some discrete value results. So we are checking that is null, that where my data values are null. So what I can see here that this deep brown color, or the brown color you are getting, what is the value of brown color? That is 1. So what is that discrete values? Either 1 or either 0. So if it is 0, that is this color, you can see 0, that is these are having no null values. but this column is having a null values. And slightly, if I just zoom this thing, you can see here that there is one just a very thin line over there. This means that one value is not null and rest everything is null. So that one value is for the Delhi one, right? For the Delhi it is not null, and the rest thing are null. So from starting from the 0 and going till 144, and apart from that, right? So we'll be looking up the things, and this C map refers to this color mapping, what I'm going to use. Like if I use something else, if I say blues or anything, right, it will be changed. There are various mappings, right? We'll be looking up to the things. So regarding today, we whatever the operations we saw, whatever the functions we saw, apply, group by, IAT, at, or head, or like similar to this, if you write up with the head, if you want to see the last element, last 5 elements or anything, right? By default, it came as 5 elements. By default, if you write up like for the tail events, it will be getting the last 5 elements and value counts and like equals keys, making things with the dictionary, and a lot more we are going to discuss. All right, tomorrow, not tomorrow, Monday, right? Tomorrow is a holiday, Sunday is there.